Hi guys, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be studying about what do we really mean when economists say thinking at the margin or decision making at the margin, or what just we mean by the concept of the margin in economics. Because the notion of the margin is important in much of economic analysis, because decision makers, whether they're individuals, firms, or consumers, or even the government, they are actually seen to take decisions with reference to small changes or marginal changes in behavior instead of considering total outcomes. And for instance, let's say a firm, right? If it wants to decide that whether it should increase the output by an extra unit, then it will compare the additional revenue that it would receive from selling that extra unit and will see that whether that revenue compensates for the additional cost of producing it. Similarly, let's say a consumer or an individual may decide whether the extra benefit of consuming an additional can of cola or um, coffee is sort of worth the price to be paid for. This is basically known as a marginal principle. So ideally, what we're saying is that what do we really mean by thinking at the margin? It means that focusing. It means that focusing on the impact of one more or one less unit, that is marginal decision, or marginal unit, that is one extra or one more extra or one less extra unit of something, instead of looking at the total. See, economists, they basically care about the next step, right? That is the extra benefit versus the extra cost of a small or a marginal change. So I mean, see, for instance, let's say let's talk about you guys, right? So you don't ask that should I study economics at all, because that's a total decision. Instead, you ask that should I study one more hour of economics tonight, right? So for instance, if you want to decide that you want to study an hour more, then you will say that should I study one more hour of economics tonight or not, instead of saying should I study economics at all, right? So that is thinking at the margin. And so when you want to decide that whether you should study an hour of economics more tonight, then that would depend upon what value or utility you're going to gain in that extra hour versus the cost of studying, which could include maybe burning your mental calories for studying, or your time, or your energy, or maybe giving up on sleep. So that is what thinking at the margin is, and we all do that, right? So when you say at the margin, it simply means making decisions step by step based on whether the next unit is actually worth it or not. And here in my example, the next unit was actually the next hour of studying economics, right? The next unit could be maybe making another unit of coffee to drink and sell, or maybe just drink it yourself or sell it, right? So when you so that's what marginal means. And marginal principle is basically the idea that economic agents, be it individuals, firms, or governments, they take decisions by considering the effect of small changes from the existing situation, right? For instance, let's say a factory, if it wants to produce an extra unit of a good, it would see that whether producing that extra unit is worth the cost of producing it. That is, it would compare the benefit of producing that unit versus the cost of that unit. That is, how much revenue would they gain by selling that unit versus the cost of making that unit. And so, how much revenue or benefit they will gain from producing and selling that unit would be termed as marginal benefit, right? Marginal, guys, always remember that marginal means extra. So marginal principle is simply the principle of extra, because economists make decisions, or even economic agents, be it people like me, you, consumers, households, firms, and governments, they make decisions based on comparing the extra benefit versus the extra cost. So if you're watching this video right now, and let's say you're enjoying it, so that's the marginal benefit that you're gaining from that video versus the cost of that video. That is, for example, the time you're putting into, right? So maybe let's say that this video, let's say this video is not worth the time investing, so in that case we'll say that the marginal cost of watching this video is much more than the marginal benefit. And so economists when they want, when economic individuals, when economic agents want to make decisions, that's how they make their decisions. They base their decisions whether you should go for something or not go for something, whether you should buy something, not buy something, consume something, not consume something, whether you should produce and sell something or not produce and sell something. Be it firms, government, or consumers, or households and individuals, we all make decisions based at the margin, right? So basically, we compare the marginal benefit with the marginal cost, right? Marginal cost is the cost, is the extra cost that would be incurred. For example, the extra cost that you're incurring by watching this movie, watching this video right now would be the cost of the time that you're putting into. Maybe this time could have been put to something else as well, right? Or maybe the mental energies that you're putting into, right? So this is a very simple example that I've given. And so that is what basically thinking at the margin means. So, imagine, so if I want to simplify decision making at the margin, I could say that, for instance, let's say for a consumer, if imagine that you're shopping for clothes and let's say you already have two t-shirts in your cart. You have two t-shirts in your cart, and you are thinking, should you buy the third one? So what will go in your head when you want to decide which should you buy the third one? So you'll decide that whether you should go for a third t-shirt. You'll decide by asking that, will the benefit of one more t-shirt, that is a marginal benefit of one more t-shirt, is worth the extra money spent, right? So you're technically comparing marginal benefit with marginal cost of that third t-shirt. Well, on the other hand, that's you, right? That's an individual, deciding. Even producers and firms. In economics, producers are called firms, right? So let's say a bakery is deciding whether to bake one more loaf of bread. And if selling that extra loaf will bring in more money than it costs to make, then it's worth it. Then they will, make and sell it. So the rule is that firms would produce more only when the extra revenue from selling one more unit is actually greater than the extra cost of making it, which actually makes sense, right? Even the government, because you need to know who are economic agents. The consumers, firms, and the government are economic agents who are actually running the economy, right? They are the main principal economic decision makers in an economy. So a government, let's say, has to choose even whether they should spend the tax money on maybe building a new hospital or even new roads, right? So if the government has to choose between where to spend tax money, on new hospitals or new roads, so it will look at the extra benefit of spending one more dollar on hospitals versus the road, right? It will look at, what I'm saying is, it will consider the extra benefit of spending a dollar more on hospital versus the road. So it won't think like, oh, you know what? It will think in terms of, okay, fine. You know what? If right now spending a dollar is worth on hospitals more versus is it worth more on spending on the road? So if the extra benefit from the hospital is bigger, right? Then that's where the next bit of money should actually go, right? So that's what actually thinking at the margin is. If the extra benefit from those hospitals would be bigger, then that's exactly where the next bit of money should go. So in short, what we're saying is that, at the margin, everyone, consumers, producers, and the government, thinks about whether doing a little more or whether doing a little less is actually worth it or not. Right? Even a little less. Maybe, you're like, should you go for that extra hour of studying? Oh no, maybe I think we shouldn't, because maybe an extra less hour is worth more, the benefit than the cost, maybe, right? So that's what thinking at the margin actually means. And in economics, decisions are taken at the margin, right? And if I were to give you a very quick, simple example, don't think that this is all this is everyday decision making that me and you are doing. Yes, I do agree that economists sound really fancy when they say that decision making is at the margin, but in reality, we all do it subconsciously every single day. Like I gave the example of studying. You ask yourself, should I study one more hour or is it better to sleep? That's you weighing up the extra benefit of one more study against the extra cost of lost, let's say, rest, right? Again, eating. I mean, you've already eaten, let's say, two samosas, right? Two pizzas or whatever, and you think, do I eat a third one? So how will you decide whether you should eat the third one? You check whether the extra satisfaction is worth the chance of feeling too full, right? Or maybe scrolling on TikTok or Instagram. After 10 minutes, you think, oh, should I have watch one more reel or one more video, or should I get back to work? That's marginal thinking, right? So even when you're spending money, when deciding whether to buy a coffee, you ask yourself if the extra enjoyment is worth the extra 400 rupees that I'm going to spend on this, right, guys? So this is what this is what actually thinking at the margin is, and I hope you enjoyed this and you understood this. And if you did, then let me know in the comments, and do share my videos and let everyone know about the channel. And I'll see you all, subscribe to my channel as well, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, take care.